All right, greetings. This is AM Live in the Market. My name is Laban Cliff Onserio. Today we have a special edition and it's all about women, just celebrating women in the country in the various sectors across board. More particularly in the top 40 under 40s Business Daily's list, of course, just recognizing excellence across board. And this year we're only glad to roll out the list, which of course many of us have been expecting. Before we unveil, and I know we have it right here in front of us, allow me to introduce to you 3 of the 40, so that means 37 of them who are not here today, but they just represent kind of the rest of the crew. Allow me to start from my far left. Her name is LeAnne Peris, who's the director at, let me get this, Dîner en Blanc, which is a French name, of course, and she'll tell us more about what she does. Next to her is Madame Emily Orwaru. Madame Emily Orwaru, most of you know, she, from her demeanor you cannot tell, but she's an aeronautical engineer from Kenya Airways. Thank you for being with us. Next to me, I'm honored and glad to be sitting next to a vice president from Barclays Bank right here in Kenya. That's Madame Caroline Wambugu, who's also made it on the top 40 under 40 list. Ladies, thank you very much for braving the cold and being here early on time.
Thank you.
All right, so are you ready to do the unveiling? So yes. Of course it's the top 40 under 40 list, so we're just going to put up that on air, and our unveiling will be just stripping down the ribbon right in the middle. There we go. All right, in quick succession. Are we there? All right. Yeah. Very well. So on your copy of the Business Daily today, we have, of course, the full list of the top 40 under 40 women. Right now, we're just going to show you the front page because we'll be playing to you the list fully on air for you to see. We're just going to show you everything so that you can make sure you get your copy up there. So what does this awards mean? You know, some of you might be sitting there and wondering, well, we're celebrating women in today's show in the market, but what exactly does this mean, and what does this mean, especially for the women in different categories? And I'm happy that on our panel today we have kind of a diversity. You know, we have an entrepreneur, we have an engineer, and we have, you know, a corporate leader, I should say. So what's the genesis of the top 40 under 40 awards, and what is the quality of entries? I'm told there are over 400 entries this year. For more details on this, here now is Business Daily's managing editor Ocheng Rapuro with the details.
Top 40 under 40 women's initiative came just a year after we launched the Business Daily newspaper in March 2007. We were starting a new publication in the country, something that had not been done in this side of the world. And therefore, we were looking at what we could do differently and what value we could add into that space. So the first year of our existence, in 2007, we thought that apart from just covering news and events, we should bring in additional value, which is recognizing excellence. When we looked back at the list we had published in 2007, we realized that it was just the common faces, women who were already known. You know, some of them were ministers like Charity Ngilu, some of them were PSs, many of them were CEOs of private or public listed companies. So we asked ourselves whether we were adding any value by just creating or producing a list of women who were already known. And therefore, we came to the conclusion that we could add more value if we turned it into a discovery initiative. Discover new women who are doing great things quietly in whatever segment of the economy. That's how we came up with the title Top 40 Under 40. The number of entries have kept on increasing, virtually because, again, initially it was just us nominating women from the newsroom. We would send mail in the newsroom and ask journalists to nominate the women they thought were excelling in whatever sector of the economy. And then we graduated to a point where we were now involving our readers. So we put out ads and we asked our readers to nominate the women they thought were doing great things, were excelling in whatever sector of the economy. And that didn't end there. Subsequently, we said, actually, you can nominate yourself. If you think you're doing great things, you're a great person, you are headed to greatness, you are a woman to watch, just nominate yourself. Nothing wrong with telling us you're great. That happened, and then we then went into social media, you know, asking people through social media platforms to nominate people. And that captured more and more people participating in nominating. So we have had good numbers in subsequent years. Basically, what actually generates good candidates is a dynamic economy where companies are growing, people are progressing, you know, entrepreneurs are able to start businesses and they grow, they employ people, you know, they expand in various parts of the country or even across the borders outside the country. Companies are growing, expanding, people get promoted, you know, the people who are excelling if they are corporate professionals. If there are professional consultancies like lawyers or investment bankers, you know, when the economy is vibrant, they pounce on big deals, you know, whether they are foreign investors coming into the country looking for partners, mergers and acquisitions. So when the economy is vibrant, you get a lot more entries. People have an opportunity to excel and stand out, and therefore it's easier to pick them out. When the economy has slowed down, as it did in the past year or so, things are a bit slow. And so I can tell you that this year, even the rate at which we got the entries, we had to advertise for about 2 months. And I think because it was in the heat of the election campaigns, it was very slow. To the very tail end, then we got a good number of entries. A newspaper of the kind that we have must play a broader role other than just informing people what is happening. What we do with these initiatives, and we have another one called Top 100, you know, is to recognize excellence. We cannot sit in a space where we only talk about challenges and, you know, what is not going well, what is not good, you know. Sometimes life is about sitting back and celebrating life. So we celebrate people who make an effort to grow our economy, to encourage others, to mentor others, to raise the country's stature in whether it is technology or in whatever field. It's been very interesting that these women we recognize through Top 40, Under 40. Many of them have then gone forward and gotten recognition in international forums. I think we are up to a good thing, and we intend to stay on that space going forward.
Ocheng Rapuro there, Managing Editor of Business Daily, just giving an overview onto the history, the quality of entries, and of course how the Business Daily is meeting the needs of this diversity of a group of the top 40 under 40 women. So before I just jump into the quick interview, allow me to just quickly recognize the team of judges that help pull this through. I want to mention Philip Mwema. Philip Mwema, of course, is the owner of a tax and legal advisory expert. We have Catherine Karit, Peter, who's also an expert in matters to do with investment. We also have Caroline Wambugu. Caroline Wambugu, of course, was a past winner, and she just gives a whole overview and whole perspective onto how she feels that perhaps who should make it on the list this time around. And last but not least is Jenny Lusby. Jenny Lusby, of course, is a reporter, actually, let's say, career financial journalist, of course, ex-Financial Times, BBC, and of course, she's been here also with the Business Daily, just especially in its formative years. So that's with the team of judges, of course, and you'll be getting more details on your copy of the Business Daily. But first, before we just even get to, how do you make it on the list, how do you come into that? I'd actually introduced my panel earlier on before, but allow me to start from LeAnne. LeAnne, you are owner of Dinner en Blanc, which you say is an annual event. This is a franchise annual event that you organize right here in Nairobi. Yeah. Just talk us through what you do, and especially in that event space that you're in.
Okay, so basically, Dinner en Blanc is a standalone event that happens annually. We started in 2015, and we usually see about 500 people come. A very high-end outdoor event where you have to dress in all white, including your shoes and your belt. Wow. And you bring your own food and your own wine. It's just an interesting event where guys get to share. And I mean, everyone from all walks of life can come. And there are no VIPs at Dinner en Blanc. So if, for example, someone influential comes, and you can walk up and say hi, and that whole community experience and being able to meet different people and make new friends is what makes Dinner en Blanc very exciting. Mm-hmm. Yes.
To any layman, it must actually sound like maybe it's a French wine tasting evening, perhaps, to just sample a few. But what exactly goes on into the event, and what's the main purpose of actually having the annual event in Nairobi?
Okay, so it has a French name because it started in Paris 30 years ago. So the purpose is, I mean, for every country and every city, and it happens in 100 cities across the world, there's a different theme. Like, we come up with a different theme every year. So for us, it's just being able to build national cohesion and just break down the barriers where, in Kenya, we have this guy is a VIP, you have to go through his PA to get to him. But with Dinner en Blanc, you break down those barriers, and everyone comes together to just have a good mature party and have fun. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
And of course, next to LeAnne is Emily Orwaru. Emily, allow me, I'm told, man, you never asked a lady's age, but this is all out there in the press, so I'm going to ask you, how old are you now? It's all the daily, so you have no choice.
Yeah, now that it's out there, I just have to admit that I'm 29 years old.
So 29-year-old Emily Orwaru is an aeronautical engineer at Kenya Airways.
Yes.
I think to any person sitting at home will be like, oh, wow, how did she do that?
Yeah, well, my passion started when I was young. I wanted to become a teacher, like my mom, because I thought teachers have authority and everything. But later on, because I grew up in a base, in Laikipia Air Base, my dad works as a soldier, so I got to see planes on a daily basis. So I became interested in flying, actually, not engineering in particular. But I think after some time, I got bored with the, I thought about, okay, flying is almost as equal to driving, So I wanted something a little bit different, something that I didn't know any aeronautical engineer at that time. So I became interested in that because I wanted to know what it is about, and I was very interested in sciences, and later on in physics, and in college I was very interested in aerodynamics.
Wow, goodness. So what exactly do you do, especially, just give us just maybe 30 minutes in a day in your life, or, well, not speak for 30 minutes as such, but just kind of compressing it to a few seconds into what exactly goes on into your day-to-day?
Well, I started design. I studied design in my bachelor's degree, but right now in Kenya Airways, I work as a planning engineer. I plan aircraft maintenance. As we know, aircraft, like it's a body that needs to be maintained on a daily basis. We have routine checks to be able to put it to be airworthy, and to also maintain it in such a way that we have safety. So on a daily basis, I have to plan for regular checks, which we call them pre-flight checks. After every flight, we have to check. We have to check to see that it is in a condition to be able to fly, and also for customer experience. So I I plan ahead of time. It's not something that you wake up and decide, oh, this one has to be done now. It is something that we plan over a period of time. We have a schedule. So we have to, I make packages and issue them to people of what is required for the maintenance. We have engineering orders that we issue to the mechanics and engineers on the floor of what they need to do. So basically, that's what I do. I plan for the maintenance.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Caroline Wambugu, I think by now you'd actually tell why all of you made it to the list. Also, as yourself, just looking at, speaking of planning, financial planning for Barclays Bank in Kenya, and I really like your title. And when you say you sit next to a president or vice president, I should say you're a chief de camp. So I should say actually I'm a chief de camp next to Madam Caroline. But just really quickly, why the name VP, and what exactly goes on into your day-to-day, especially working in a blue chip company?
Yeah, thanks, Laban. I think the name VP, of course, comes from the grading system, the job grading system at my organization, Barclays. And so very honored to say that I'm part of the vice presidents at Barclays Bank. But that said, I think with respect to my job and the financial planning role that we play together with my team, we keep people honest on the numbers. So the budgeting is basically our everyday job with respect to monitoring numbers, monitoring performance of the organization, and keeping ourselves honest even with respect to how then we fare to the industry. So we like playing with numbers. I think that's usually our passion at Barclays, especially in my department, the finance department. So we have a whole great team right there that looks into making sure that even as we have the businesses going out into the other teams out there and getting the business, that we come in and we are able to account for that. And then we are able to again gauge ourselves from a performance perspective. So internally, budgeting, keeping people honest.
Oh, that's great. I'd be really interested to talk about the numbers, especially in the banking sector, not particularly with Barclays. Just looking at what are some of the trends, what are some of the opportunities. I think you can just touch a bit on that, into what exactly you notice and where exactly the industry is headed.
Yeah, so if I may talk just a little bit about the industry, and without taking the glamour away from the women. Yeah, I mean, the banking industry has faced some challenges. I'm sure we all know about the interest rate capping. We all know about the other challenges that are coming through the sector. And of course, a lot of digitization that has taken place over the last little while. So we have a lot of innovative products that have come into the banking industry, again, in an effort to ensure that we are able to meet our customers' needs in a very convenient way. So we have seen a revolutionization, I would say, in the banking industry, but that creates an opportunity for us as bankers to be able to provide our financial products in a platform that works well for our customers. So I would say we have seen a lot of changes in the last little while, and especially because of the capping. So of course you've been seeing all our results because we publish on a quarterly basis. We have seen declined revenues because of that. But I would say, I mean, the banks are here to stay.
All right.
Banks are here to stay. So we are working with the challenges there, but we are also looking for the opportunities therein. Mm-hmm. And we are a very integral part of this society, because I don't think there's a society that can survive without a sound financial system. And of course, as Barclays, we are part of that team that ensures there's a sound financial system in the industry.
You may wonder why I'm asking you this, because say if you look at the finance, it's really, many people don't want to look at the numbers. They want to say, oh, we're doing well, everything's okay. But I feel like you're the one who speaks the truth in the organization, but we're going to come to that now. Let me go back to LeAnne. LeAnne, being an event organizer, just talk about the whole space of just women, especially just the whole events organization. What exactly are some of the challenges that especially you'd experience? Because I'd imagine the competition is quite cutthroat, but have you managed to stay afloat in your industry as a woman particularly?
The most important thing I have found is to be innovative. You cannot come into an industry and decide to be like everybody else. There are hundreds of event planners in Nairobi alone. There's so many of them, and everyone nowadays will just show up and say, oh, I'm an event planner, just because you know a few suppliers here and there. But the most important job in being an event planner is being able to come up with a concept that can be adopted by either clients who are doing weddings or corporate events, and coming up with something that has not been seen before. So my mandate as a planner has been to come up with interesting ideas like doing Dîner en Blanc and a few other events that I can't talk about now that are scheduled for the first quarter of 2018. Just being able to come up with concepts that people can enjoy without having to just do what everyone else is doing. So the challenging thing is just maintaining a creative mind to be able to come up with something that people have not seen. And then number two, trying to convince somebody that you're different from all the other hundreds of planners that they have seen before. So that's the challenge I think I have found as a woman in this space.
How do you stay afloat as a woman? Because I would realize, you know, many of the big names perhaps who just come in and walk into and bug a deal, that, for instance, if it's hosting an artist, for instance, that's what many people will actually talk about. And how event planners also stay afloat. But for you, how do you, you know, stay above the water, I should say, as a woman?
Okay, so I've had a very interesting entrepreneurship journey, and just being a hustler, I think, from age 17 and knowing that you have to grind and you have to wake up in the morning and be accountable to yourself has enabled me to meet very interesting people. So how I've been able to keep my business is afloat is to be able to network and just always meet new people and always tell everyone what you're doing. Because in that moment, when you meet like 5 people and they know, oh, so LeAnne does X, Y, Z, then they're more likely, because they already know you as a person, they're more likely to invite you to do something for them, because then sales come from a point of a relationship. If you don't have a relationship with a client or a potential client, it's likely they're not going to hire you. And then being excellent in my work, like if I do an event for somebody, then I know from that job I'll get like 5 or 6 more jobs, because then people have positive things to say and you go all out. Like if like you're in a situation where you do an event and you know maybe things are going wrong, even if it means wiping out your entire profit to fix it, then you do it. And as long as people know that they can count on you in that way, then business will keep coming. Speaking
about things going wrong, I know the events companies came on the spotlight just the other day when they had an artist who came in, and perhaps they kind of received money and you know the performance wasn't that well received. So how do you even tackle such challenges?
I think sometimes there are things you cannot anticipate. For example, if you're bringing in an artist, you don't know if this guy will be, you know, an amazing star. But I think it has to do with research. You have to find out, this person must have performed in other areas. How did they do? Before you just, you know, bring someone random because they have a big name, do your research. And I think that's where people are not, you know, doing a good job, because if you're going to charge guys 10,000 shillings, at least have done your research. That's the basic, like this is the base. If you can't do that, then don't hold the event.
All right. Okay. I'm going to come to that, and of course about the whole Event Management Association, what they're really trying to push forward, especially in just managing excellence in the country. Emily, to any person sitting out there, they would actually say, well, to be an aeronautical engineer, I'd have to travel, I'd have to go abroad and maybe get this level of qualification. Just talk us through getting that aeronautical engineer next to your name. Like what process do you take, especially in your campus and in your studies?
Well, first I think it has to start with interest. Everything starts with interest. So you have to be interested in sciences. Of course, if you're not interested in sciences, there's no way you're going to be interested in engineering as a whole. So luckily for me, I took all sciences in high school, and I graduated well. I was lucky to get a Russian Federation scholarship to study in Russia. But now I'm happy to say that we have aeronautical engineering courses being done in Kenya. We even have them in diploma levels. We also have in technical universities, for example, offering bachelors in aeronautical engineering. So it is, you don't have to travel. It is now available in Kenya, so people can apply. And Moi University, I think they also have a program of the same. So in college, you have to be, well, it is a continuation of what you did in high school. It's mostly physics, in simple terms. But then you go to different units of physics. You do things like theory of materials, you do theories of mechanics, you do things like strength of materials, you do things like flight dynamics, you do aerodynamics, and such kind of subjects. So it has to start with the interest, because if you're not interested in it, it's so easy for you to get out of it. For example, in the class that I was, I remember we were like three foreigners, whereby we were 2 Kenyans, I and another guy, and in the class we were only 2 ladies. So in the class of design, but in the actual maintenance and diagnostics class, we had quite a number of ladies. So I think it is an area that is not taken by most women, maybe for fear that it is difficult, and also maybe it is not talked about. You know, like when I was young, I didn't know anybody in, you know, in the field of aeronautical engineering. So when I was telling my friends that I'm going to Russia to study aeronautical engineering, everybody was looking at me and telling me, what is that, you know?
Why exactly?
And why? And everybody was asking me, where are you going to work, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's a very interesting thing. It's all about your passion and your hard work.
Do you feel that maybe perhaps just growing around, you said Laikipia Air Base,
yes,
did that have an inclining into where you are now?
I think it did, because I remember when I was 9 years old, my dad came home with 2 portraits of F-5 fighter jets. And
now you lost us there. Take us easy, Madam Engineer. What do you mean by F-5 fighter jets? Of course, I'll definitely draw that up, but of course for
well,
audience.
Those are jets, they're military jets,
yes,
that they use in the
base, of course,
yeah. So I remember I looked at them and I had seen planes. Like, we wake up every morning to the noise of it and we sleep with the noise of it. So he put one in my room and he put the other in my brother's room. So, well, I think it was a way of saying, this is the direction.
Wow, okay, okay.
Yeah.
For many people, of course, let's look towards what maybe perhaps someone's watching, maybe they're thinking about scaling up their career into that way, and maybe Russia might not be on the cards, but what advice would you just really quickly give, especially into the level of study? Because I know it's a very technical course, you know, the opportunities and what avenues they should look towards into studying aeronautical engineering.
My advice is that we can, now in Kenya we have so many airlines currently. So people should not fear like where are they going to get a job or what are they going to do after that. I think people should take the courses that are offered locally. For the mere fact that when you do a course locally, there's the advantage of going to the industry in your country. For example, I remember when I was studying in Russia, I did not have the chance to visit the factory where they manufacture planes because, of course, of the fact that I'm a foreigner. So maybe they are protecting their technology and they do not want their technology to leak. So I had to come during my vacations in Kenya to intern in Kenya. So I think studying in Kenya, given that we have the local university offering these courses, people should apply in Kenya. But at the same time, there are so many other scholarship opportunities out there. People should also apply for government scholarships and even in privately organized scholarships to do this. Engineering courses.
All right.
Yes.
Great. I'm going to come into Madam Caroline right now, and you're just going to turn our pages to, what is this? This is a page, just say looking at board, yes, on the 3rd page, that's on the pull-out. And why I'm really keen on to focusing a lot more on that to our viewers, this is just looking at board diversity and just looking at inclusion. Just really, how do we have representation, especially of women in boards? There's a quick survey there that has actually just been released onto what exactly, what it means exactly to have the women out there and to boards. It's just giving different countries, Norway, Finland. Kenya doesn't quite fare well in the representation of women in boardrooms, and there's a whole psychology discussion into it that, well, if you have women in boardrooms, perhaps, you know, you make more better judgment, for instance, into the decisions that you make and what have you. But why is Kenya still falling behind into having more women represented in boards?
I don't know whether to say it's a culture, because of course we have a very male-dominated culture, I think, in Kenya, if I may say so. But that said, I think I must also give credit to Kenyans, because in the last little while, maybe what, 5, 6 years, we've seen a lot of inclusivity of women in the boardroom. and not only in the boardroom, but even in key meetings, I would say, across the corporate divide, also in the social space, where we are seeing a lot of women rising up to the ladder. And no wonder, anyway, we have the top 40 under 40, because women are actually doing something great out there. Women are doing wonderful things that are worth mentioning and worth talking about. And I mean, we can actually mention a few. And I think the boardroom diversity discussion, whilst there are many assumptions and myths to it, I think I would say as Kenya, and also in the corporate world, there is a lot of inclusivity that has come on board. If I may speak specifically for my organization that I work in, Barclays, there's a lot of women inclusivity. In fact, in our board, I think we must have been the first ones for a company listed in the Nairobi Stock Exchange to be able to get to the 50% mark from a boardroom composition. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for women out there, but I must also appreciate the men because they come on board with a lot of wealth of experience. I must appreciate them for giving the women the space to be self-expressive, to be able to give an input into corporate matters, into social matters, and thereby give us a footing in that space. So I must say we have grown in this space. Yes, we are coming from a past where there was a lot of myths around it, but we have grown, and we need to give credit to the growth that we have seen in the boardroom diversity and inclusion, and we'll get there. Right. I mean, maybe the West guys went ahead of us, but we will definitely get there because there is a lot of positivity, energy coming from this direction.
Even away from the West, I would feel our East African counterparts are really giving us a run for money, especially into having board representation. Talk about, I mean, Rwanda at another level. The other day I was in Uganda, and yes, you know, the Commissioner General in charge of the Uganda Revenue Authority is a lady, and she's really calling the shots. Yeah, yeah. So women are actually making it, and the beauty for me, I think, is just the acknowledgement that we have a lot to offer, and that we bring something to the table that is tangible, and we are able to follow through. There's some very good characteristics for women. Actually, if you put women in charge of something, I can tell you, based on how we have been, should I say, how socialized and wired, women actually pull through and bring something to the table that you're glad about. So the inclusivity we are seeing, and it's fast catching us, I think it's a really great thing. All right, ladies, I want us to do a drum roll. We just have to do it on the table. To our viewers out there, of course, you're tuned in and you're wondering why do we have the three on air today. Of course, these are the three top 40 and 40 women, and I'm sure you want to find out about the 37. So 3, 2, 1, we're going to do the drum roll, and then we're going to play that. All right, let's go. All right, now unveiling the top 40 under 40 women for 2017. All right, so congratulations to the finalists. So what does it feel? I mean, it's there's pressure now on you. The world is watching, and I mean, just talk us through your emotions and how did you even go through the process? LeAnne, let's start from you.
It's insane. I cannot. You know, when I got the call, I kept asking the lady, "Are you serious? Are you serious? What are you talking about?" I could not. It's not something I could wrap my mind around. I don't know who nominated me or why they felt I was amazing. But I think this award is a validation of the hard work, of the struggle. You know, sometimes as an entrepreneur, things get like really tough, especially now with Decision 2017. Things can get very, very tough. So being able to see that there are people that have seen what you're doing and who appreciate it, and there are people that you inspire, it's a tall order. It's huge. It's huge.
What do you feel? What's the weight on your shoulders like? What will you do with this recognition, into even just impacting others, perhaps, and even just being an influencer in your own space, or even mentoring other people?
Okay, I think this will most probably enhance a really bad habit I have of advising everyone.
It's not a bad habit, actually.
People do not like it too much when you're very, oh, you have to do this if you want to be better, you know. So the weight, and I think the magnitude is knowing that now with this award, everyone is looking at you to see what next. So you got this award, what are you going to do with it? That pressure, and knowing that, you know, if you mess up, there's a whole generation of people that is looking to you for inspiration. There's a whole community of people that are hoping that you will be a voice for the different things that are, you know, amiss in this country, or things that are not amiss, like just being a voice about all the issues across the board, being objective, it's been an inspiration to the younger generation. For me, that's, I think, the mandate of this award. just being a light to everybody else.
All right.
Yeah.
Emily, how many aeronautical engineers are there in Kenya Airways?
We have quite a number. I can't tell how many. We could have maybe.
On average, you just give a give and take, perhaps. Because what I want to look at is what do you feel made you stand out?
Well, maybe 200.
200
I can
on
say,
average.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So what? 1 out of 200, of course. Just talk to us about what do you feel made you stand out?
Actually, I feel humbled by this. I was quite surprised when I was called by Raphael. I actually told him, could you please send me an email? You know, with the pranks out there, I don't know,
Fake
you
news,
know.
Perhaps you're
yeah,
being very careful.
And I kept asking him, where is the catch, you know, where is the catch in this? And then, well, eventually he sent me an email and I confirmed that it is actually true. So I think this is quite eye-opening for me, I can say. I think it is a challenge for me to do better in my field. And also, I think it's a challenge for women out there to, it's for us to make our decision in what we want our success to be. So I feel that I'm now able to maybe talk more about you know, it's not so easy getting this position, or even being an aeronautical engineer, or being in any profession as a woman. Because basically, I remember when I was young, I lost my right hearing. So I actually used one hearing from the left ear. And I also, when I was in college, I lost my eyesight. So I used contact lenses to see. So despite all these challenges, it means that everybody can make it. And I also want to tell people out there that, you know, there's nothing that you can't get if you really have the willpower to get it. You know, the hard work pays. And I remember also, after I finished college, when I was so happy, I thought about, oh, the amount of money I'm going to make, the amount, the lifestyle I'm going to live, you know. Yeah, I was so excited. But unfortunately, when I came back in 2012, a year later, I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. So I thought, I remember the first thing I thought to myself is, why did God allow me to go through all this and then just take my life right now? You know, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to die, you know. So I kept on wondering, what is the point of life? But now I see myself today, I'm actually, I don't know, I'm lost of words to describe exactly what I feel. I'm very happy, and I also think that everybody is included, because I used to think that this list is for a chosen few. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And of course, you realize also with the diversity that's have, it's just recognizing women in across different spaces. I'll come back to you for your advice, and you really opened up even about, you know, your diagnosis, and you just somebody else who's watching you, perhaps maybe they're distraught and they're just wondering, you know, how to go about it. But yeah, come back to you just for your advice and just word of encouragement. But before I just kind of delve deeper again into this whole discussion to how women stand on board, I'm very sure that, Caroline, when you walk back to Barclays right now, maybe you'd have a cake on your desk just recognizing recognizing you for your efforts. But what do you feel this portends for you, especially now in your career, into the opportunities ahead for you, and to how you're going to leverage on the award?
Yeah, I think, Laban, for me, it's I'm really grateful to God. I think it's an honor. I'm quite humbled that I have been awarded this particular award. I was nominated, I think, by a friend. So this season passed me, I must say. I was busy doing budgeting. And then, of course, with all that's happening in the political atmosphere, I didn't quite take note of this particular season. But all the same, I'm glad that somebody out there was looking out and put my name across. But that said, I think also, I feel it's also a challenge in a sense, because then it means I must up my game. I mean, I'm an accountant by profession, and trust you me, there are so many accountants out there. So to get a recognition award, and especially in my space, I wouldn't say it's something to be belittled. So it's a great award. quite a challenge to try and keep up. But I must say, because I know how my journey has been, and I have worked in a financial institution before for another 13 years before I joined Barclays. I mean, it was an uphill task. It was really an uphill task. So I think there's credit how you do your job. And I think that is what probably made me stand out from an awards perspective, because I started at the very bottom. Mm-hmm. I mean, I used to get wages. Let's not lie about it. So, so to get to where I have gotten, it has not been an easy job. But it's good to know that somebody has been watching, that hard work pays and it's appreciated. You know, so that is very encouraging for me, and I give God all the glory for that. Mm-hmm. So it's a challenge for me to ensure that I keep up and up my game, and of course empower other young people. I do mentor quite a number of young people, so I'm quite encouraged that they'll feel that there is somewhere where we are going with the conversations that we have been having with them. So it's something that I must live up to, so that I ensure that even the generations to come, and especially the people that I mentor, get a taste of it even as we go along.
Caroline, I'm going to come back to you again. Why? Because you mentioned the young people. I know there's this whole fast into, oh, I want to be Caroline, Vice President Barclays. ASAP, of course, is that get rich quick, as you say, and of course, get to the top of the corporate ladder very quickly. Yeah. Just talk us through earning the stripes, like into just, you know, that process, which of course many of us are not quite akin into, making sure we are patient enough to go through.
Yeah, so I think in doing any task, you must remember that one of the key values is to be patient in the process. Patient in the process and to deliver with excellence. Those are my key values. And when I talk about delivery with excellence, it means you do the job, get it done, whether there are people watching or not. So in my previous job, I mean, I used to be in the office between 6:30 and 7, and that is something I did religiously for over 10 years. And through that, I was able to plan my day, work at it, plan my work, and meet the deliverables that had been set. You know, so to get even to an outstanding recognition in my previous job at NIC Bank is not something that I take for granted. But it actually did show that once you put something in, definitely you get something back, you know. And I have been able to also do the same in my social space. So I don't just work in the corporate sector. Actually, I do, I think, more on Saturday and Sunday, because there's quite a bit that I do in the social space. But that said, I think people need to be encouraged that that there is a process to getting there. And once you acknowledge that there is a process and you're patient in the process and you give it your best, trust you me, your day of reckoning is going to come. So I got some also very good supporters in the workplace. I had two very great mentors back at NIC Bank. I must give special recognition to my two great mentors who walked through the journey with me. I think giving support, and that's something I think as leaders we must embrace in a very big way. Let us give support to the upcoming people. When people land and they are put in your space, hold them and walk the journey with them. So I had two very special people who walked the journey with me, and that's Lucy and my other former boss, Mr. Murage. So they walked the journey with me.
It's not easy because...
And they gave me the platform.
You know, in Kenyan corporate culture, it's always about, you know, making sure that you can actually sidestep and make sure, you know, your colleague doesn't make it to the head of department before you do.
Yes, and you know, and you'll always hear in the corporate space that, you know, office politics. I don't do office politics myself. I believe in earning your mark and earning your place. And I think I am a testament that I've been able to do that, because it's been tough, but looking back, very worth it, very worth it. But I must acknowledge that let leaders give people a platform, because in giving that platform, then you're able to showcase what you're able to do, you're able to showcase what you're able to deliver, and thereby then you're able to be considered for positions as they come up. And that has been my journey in the corporate space.
I'll come back to all of you for a quick advice to anyone who's looking and they want to scale up to where you are. LeAnne, why you of course stand out again, I believe, is because on the entrepreneurship journey, which is, you know, decide on your day, decide on what you're going to do, and perhaps into the whole event space that you're in. I just want to look towards the future of it, because we're getting to the tail end of our interview, the future of events management, the opportunity for women, and what are some of the other sides that you're looking at that maybe you would need partners even to just come and jump on board and help you achieve your dreams?
Okay, so Well, being an entrepreneur has you have to be able to evolve all the time. You cannot, and I said this before earlier, that you cannot do the same thing over and over again and expect to be, successful, recognized, or all that. So you have to evolve. So for me, I think with events, it's just keeping on looking for exciting opportunities that I could be like bring into this country that would put me as a leader, things that have not been done before, things that even if they're being done, they're not being done, perfectly, like what you spoke about, bringing artists or just ventures that make a difference. If it's changing status quo, we all know now it's end of year season and everyone is doing an end of year party and it's the same thing. Coming up with new concepts for the corporate organization. But there's also something else. I cannot talk about it on air. I wish I could. That we are launching for the event space.
Is it because you're trying to make sure that we, keep our taste buds?
I want you to watch this
till
space
next
again.
year. Maybe we should call you back in January.
You should. You should. So
any international franchise, perhaps you can be able
something local, Kenyan made, super amazing. A few concepts for charity, because Dineon Blanc is not like a charitable organization. So just doing a few things for my friends who are in the social space and doing things for people, and just organizing events that actually help people. Like if you can do something that would change someone's life, then I mean you have lived. You can just move on, and just helping people is the most important thing for me at this point. And then speaking towards opportunities for women in the event space is we have a shortage of florists. There are florists, but they're very few. And women, we are so good with colors. We're so good with being creative.
Yeah, you can tell from Emily's
I know, we handle flowers from when we were like 3 years old. You're always playing with flowers, putting them in your hair. So I think that's somewhere that is highly lacking, and I think I'd want to see more professionals in that space and people that come up with amazing designs just using flowers. We have very good designers in the States and in Europe, but I think here we just have a shortage. So I think that's a good opportunity because everyone now is doing chairs and tables, and if we all have chairs and tables, honestly.
And that's kind of the risk in Kenya. When you start a business, your colleague or somebody else would want to replicate what exactly you want to start.
Yeah.
All right, LeAnne, just really quickly, somebody who's watching you right now want to be you one day in just under 30 seconds. What's your advice to them?
You have to grind. You cannot be mediocre in anything you do. You have to wake up in the morning and know that you can only count on yourself to be successful. You cannot count on people. You cannot expect, like if I'm friends with Caroline, I should not expect her to come and make my event amazing. I have to know that even if she works for me as an employee or whatever, that I as a business owner have to put in the time. Another thing that people my age I think struggle with is what you talked about, the get rich quick scheme. You cannot become rich overnight, and you're being honest. You have to work at it over a period of time, and you have to be patient. So patience, diligence, and just being excellent in everything that you do is what will take you to the top. And then one last thing that my dad always used to tell me is character is who you are when no one is watching. It's not the screensaver that everyone can see. It is who you are when you're alone. Do you sleep, watch movies the whole day, say bad things about people? That is your character, the person you are when no one is watching. And that is what determines if you get to the top. If you're a horrible human being, you'll not go anywhere. You may look like you're succeeding, but the world is round. It will come back and you will not succeed. So,
thank you, LeAnne.
Yes.
Emily, you've been open enough about your diagnosis. You're an nautical engineer, I think an inspiration to many. What's your advice to a young lady who's looking at you, watching you this morning?
Well, first and foremost, I like to say this, that success is a choice. To be successful is your choice. And all this has to come with resilience. You don't give up. You have to put hard work into what you're doing. But unfortunately, the most successful people never tell us the intensity of the hard work. That is for us to find out how much. I can't tell a person the exact amount of hard work they need to put to achieve what they want. It is up to you to make that decision. You have to be resilient. You have to know that it is difficult to compete with, with people out here. So you have to try and see what is it that you can do different? What is it that you do different? And also, I would like to say this, that I remember when I was diagnosed with cancer, I was thinking, oh, I'm now going to be unemployable. I was wrong. Actually, if anything, I think this second chance of life is more fulfilling than the first one that I lived. So with the awareness, and this October being the Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I think I would like to advise young ladies and even mature women to go out there and be diagnosed, and I mean to do tests, breast tests, and if breast cancer is detected early, then it is treatable. Do not wait like me, because for me, I waited too long. I was scared. I was thinking I'm going to die. I did not even know when I go to the hospital what exactly I should say. I didn't know, should I just walk into a doctor and say I have a lump? I was very, very scared. But I think that my life is different now. I am more happy, and I feel fulfilled in life. And I like talking to people who are ambassadors of breast cancer survivors, and also I like talking to people who are caregivers of these people. So I like talking to them and telling them that they should always encourage. You should never see people suffering with cancer as burdens. It is very, one, it is very expensive to treat it, and it is very mentally draining. But please just continue giving people support. Even I'm happy that people are not fired because they have cancer. That's a good thing. Yeah. And I think also that people should talk about cancer more and more. Just the same way we talk about HIV/AIDS. Let's talk about cancer. Let people know about it, because some people are out there suffering and they do not know what is eating them.
Right.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Emily. And just to cap it all up for us is Madam Caroline, your advice, especially to your mentees. How would you'd actually speak to your mentees, especially the young ones, and even, of course, the elderly ones in the corporate organizations?
Yeah, so I think I borrow quite a bit from the function that I pray, or I do of planning. So if you don't plan, don't expect miracles. So I am a stickler to a plan. I mean, even at a family level, we do have a financial plan. So I don't do plans for corporates. I actually do personal plans. But that said, I think young people need to realize that there is a process. There is a process to getting to your go-to. And there's a saying that actually does say that if you don't know where you're going, then you can't get lost. So you must, first and foremost, tailor-make a plan that takes you to the direction of your desire. So if you do not know where you're going, for sure you can't get lost, meaning that anything that comes your way, you take it. So you go with the flow. So don't be one of those people who go with the flow. Have a personal plan of where you want to be in the short term and in the long term. Then that way you'll be able to guide your footsteps to ensure you're walking towards that particular plan. So I need young people out there to know that you must be faithful and you must be patient in the process. And when you're given an opportunity to execute, to implement something, do it with excellence. God honors excellence. God honors proper execution. Don't do eye service. Do it because it is right. Do it because you want to keep yourself accountable. Do it because you want to also keep yourself honest in your delivery. So plan. Plan and do more planning. Because if you don't know where you're going, you cannot get lost.
Thank you very much. I'm really scribbling and making sure I can get all that. But of course, we would want to have a lot more discussion with you, of course, on air and off air. But thank you very much, LeAnne Peris, the owner of Dinner Blanc. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you very much, Emily Orwaru, who's an aeronautical engineer at Kenya Airways. And show us to say breast cancer ambassador into, of course, what you've spoken about. And of course, Madam Caroline Wambugu, who's the Vice President at Barclays Bank Kenya. I'll be the one to clap for you. Congratulations, ladies, for making it to the top 40 under 40 women on the Biz Daily's list. Of course, we'll just be having discussions, just profiling the 3 of the 37 of the 40 women who made it on the top 40 under 40 women. An insightful discussion out there. Of course, the discussion continues, of course, off air on our social media pages. Please reach out, get in touch. And of course, you want to find out about the list, get in touch. Actually, get your copy of the Business Daily, of course, and you can get in touch with the online platforms. My name is Laban Cliff Onserio. Thank you so much for keeping us company on AM Live. Stay tuned. We still have a lot more lined up for you.